to order at 5:03 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you roll call, please?
Director Bernhardt?
Here.
Director Goodfellow?
Here.
Director Garcia?
Here.
Director Proctor?
Here.
Director Berger?
Here.
Director Violet?
Here.
Director Ewan?
Everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we'll move on to consider approval of the agenda and for this one and then for the special meeting as well. I so move.
Second.
I have a motion by Berger and a second by
Me.
Proctor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention, motion carries. I will move on to item 6, public comments. At this time, the board will have comments on any agenda item. If any person who wishes to be heard, they shall stand, address the president, identify themselves, and state the subject for comment. Time limit for each speaker is 3 minutes, individually per item to address the board. Individuals who wish to speak on multiple items will 4 minutes in total. Board may find it necessary to limit total time allowable for public comments on any the items not appearing on the agenda at any one meeting to 1 hour. Right? Move on to board member comments, reports on meetings and events attended by directors. Did anybody have events they attended?
Attended the auxiliary meeting yesterday, and gift store's doing well.
Can you turn your mic on?
Sorry.
I attended a meeting with Pablo.
Forward.
Sorry, Nola.
I'm sorry. I attended women's auxiliary meeting, yesterday, and, gift store's doing well, and they're working on other projects.
I attended a meeting with Pablo with the Imperial County Sheriffs and Chiefs Association last week at Raleigh PD to discuss some of strategies moving forward once we consolidate both hospitals as to how to expedite getting officers in when they have in custodies and et cetera, and also keep them kind of away from the general population. So to start that discussion.
Else? We'll move on to report by merger and strategic planning ad hoc. Oh, now we'll move on to reports by merger strategic planning ad hoc, which I think we're going to present everything on the agenda tonight that was discussed last week. So then we'll move on to D, finance committee update.
Yes, thank you. The Finance Committee met November 25th. And at that meeting, the Finance Committee discussed and approved the bylaws of the Imperial Valley Healthcare District Finance and Budget Committee. We also reviewed and recommend for board approval the items listed in the consent agenda, such as 8B, approval and file PMH expense financial report, October 2025. C, approval of contract with values under $200,000. I, approval of financial professional services agreement with for urology. Yes.
We would like to move that one out for now.
Which one?
I.
Okay. And then also we reviewed 2I, I guess, approval and of the renewal of Barracuda email security. And 3I, approval of Oracle Clinical AI Agent, CAA, as well as 4, approval of the Affinity Data Archive Phase 3. We also reviewed and discussed and bring forward, recommend to the board for approval also action item 9C, which surpasses our $200,000 capacity. So that's why it's an action item. Oracle Health, EHR, nursing mobility. Thank you.
Now move on to item 8. Any member of the board may request that items from the consent calendar be removed for discussion. Items so removed shall be acted upon separately immediately following approval of items remaining on the consent calendar. You want to pull item CI
Yes, please.
for discussion or alternate?
Just so all together. Yeah. Then we'll come down at 8. The meeting at 8.
Okay. So do I have a motion?
I so move that we consent to item 8 and all the items.
Pulling item 8 on HCI.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Sperger and a second by Goodsell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Carries. And we're gonna skip item A. So 9A, so consultants on that. So move to item B with the medical staff report, recommendations from the medical exec committee for medical staff membership and or clinical privileges, policies, procedures, forms, and other with Dr. Foster.
Thank you so much.
It's working.
Yeah, thank you. So the medical executive meeting had met in November 18, 2025. And there was a recommendation for initial appointment for professional staff effective December 1, 2025. And there was a recommend reappointment effective for some staff on December 1st, 2025. There was a recommend for additional privileges for some providers on December 21st, 2025. And recommended acceptance of resignation effective November 30th for some staff. There was a recommend release from proctoring and advanced effective December 1, 2025. The committee had recommended the acceptance of some policies and procedures. And Mr. Rohenberg stated that the master plan has been presented and approved by the board, as well as the strategic plan. Full report will be presented to the medical executive committee. It was noted the last date for the completion of the merge is January 24, 2026. The committee is working on the bylaw, up to be draft, ready to be voted on soon. They continue to meet monthly to discuss the articles and the bylaws to merge into the document for both campuses. Once approved by the medical staff, the bylaws will be forwarded to the IVHD board for ratification. Financial report was not available for the month of October, and the transfer report was discussed, and the respiratory mask fit testing compliance is currently 55%. There was clinical services and committees report, and the recommendation that the Imperial Valley Healthcare District Board of Directors approves each of the recommendation of the Medical Executive Committee for medical staff membership and the clinical privileges as outlined above. Policies and procedure as noted, and authorize the Chief Executive Officer to sign any document to implement the same. Thank you.
All right, do you have any questions for Dr. Al-Sharif? If not, then I'll read a motion.
I so move.
Second.
I have a motion by Berger and a second by Proctor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Al-Sharif.
Thank you so much.
Now I'll move on to item C, staff recommends action to authorize Oracle Health EHR nursing mobility with Chris Barner.
Yes, thank you. This is one that was spoken of earlier. This is the next phase in what we're doing with Cerner. This puts handhelds in the nurses' hands instead of carrying around the wows, the big computers that they're on wheels that they're using right now. It'll help streamline a number of different things for the nurses. as the next phase in ours. It is budgeted and we're asking for approval on that.
It's essentially a tablet.
Smaller even. Overhead phone. Some of them will be better, so yes.
Any questions? Motion?
I so moved.
I'll second.
A motion by Berger, second by Garcia. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Move on to item D. Action to authorize amendment number 4 to the supplement funding enhancement program with Steve Clark and Associates with Carly Wilbur.
Steve Clark Associates helps by reviewing, our HPI reports and our dish eligibility and goes in and tries to figure out ways to get us more dish payments throughout the year. And All Central, uses the same vendor as well. So it's the same price that it's been last year, no increase. So we would like approval to continue to use them so we can get, the highest funding next year.
Do you have any questions? Comments, concerns, motion?
I so moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Berger and a second by Garcia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Move on to item E. Staff recommends action to authorize the payment of annual membership dues for the District Hospital Leadership Forum for Imperial Valley Healthcare District and Carly Lumber.
DHLF is one of our lobbyist groups. They're one of the main ones that got us the DHDP supplemental payment program. They meet with us bi-weekly, us as in the CFO groups of all districts in California. So this is their annual membership dues that are requesting.
Any comments or questions?
The only question I have is, since we're technically PMH, does ECRMC have the same or?
They do have the same, yes. So it will
But it's
then go
separate?
combined. Yes, separate, but it's based off of revenues and size. And so
Okay.
we'll just put them together.
Okay,
I so moved.
I second it.
I have a motion by Berger and a second by Proctor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Move on to item F. Action to authorize offsite biomedical waste treatment and disposal service agreement with Viola ES Technical Solutions. Carly, you're third.
Yes, so this is our medical waste. It is a different vendor than El Centro uses. Our contract was expiring, so while we're doing, looking at El Centro's and ours, we just asked them for a 6-month and easy out. So if we do decide to go to El Centro's, that's why we just brought it for that short-term agreement.
Any questions?
I move to approve it.
Second.
I have a motion by Proctor and a second by Berger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item G, action to authorize purchase of chemistry analyzer, Vidra 7600 and Carly's warrant.
Yeah, so this is for a chemistry analyzer. The laboratory had 2 chemistry analyzers. We've had a leak in the lab that one of the analyzers got taken down and it has been deemed not good. So we did put a claim in with the insurance, so we hope to get that back, but we haven't received notification of that yet. So it's, no, it's not budgeted.
So where's the budget gonna come from?
Where is it going to come from? Hopefully then, no,
Most likely insurance will cover
yeah.
it.
yeah.
Probably 25,000.
We will, there is some in other departments that I do. Okay.
So you have a $25,000 deductible.
And there is, it is a leeway at the end of February and there has been some downtime where we've had to send some stats to ECRC.
Didn't I thought I read in the report that this was like you have this one and then you have a backup. So this is replacing.
We do have a backup. So this, but this is, we need to,
So your backup wasn't working either?
the backup.
They use them both.
I think it's the volume.
So like on that one, we had a QC issue, and then when they ran through the quality control, it flagged an issue and they had to bring somebody in to fix that. And so that puts us out for a number of hours because there's nobody else.
So this one went down, your backup went down.
And when we initially had the leak, the backup side was what it was.
Okay, so what happened?
There was a water leak from the medical surgical floor that came down into the lab.
Have any other questions? A motion?
I saw moved.
I second.
A motion by Berger and a second by Proctor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Now move on to items H through M. Bunch of these policies. If anybody has any questions, in the individual policy. If not, I'll entertain a motion to for items H through M.
I move to approve.
And second.
A motion by Proctor and second by Berger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Great. Now we'll move back to item A. We're ready. Presentation of IVHD 5-year integrated financial plan for post-merger healthcare system with PRG. Pablo Velez.
Hello again. Can you hear me? Yep. So, if we get with the full presentation up, so you all know last month we brought in the strategic plan, which was approved unanimously by the board. And there were four focus areas: operational and clinical excellence, looking at improving quality and patient safety and creating efficiencies for both campuses, growth and program development. And I think that you hit the presentation to a different slide. We had looking at developing high demand service line and enhancing specialty care with the commitment to keeping the patient population down here in the Imperial Valley area. The following bucket was workforce development and recruitment. We want to hire top talented and increase our training and leadership development, and can do cultural transformation, prioritizing culture of respect, empathy, and service excellence. Next slide. We'll be presenting the 5-year financial plan here, and it's a very comprehensive analysis of the financial impact of the implementation of the strategic plan and for the next 5+ year. The model integrates key assumptions, projected revenue streams, expense structure, and capital investment that we will be doing in the next 5+ year. The purpose of the 5-year financial model was to quantify financial implications of the strategic initiatives, including growth, operational enhancement, and service expansion. The plan also supports the ability to do informed decisions by illustrating potential scenarios and the financial impact and stability of the healthcare district. The model will be used as a baseline to monitor progress and adjust our strategic initiatives as needed, and then looking at potentially funding and refinance sources. With that, I will turn it over to BRG that is on the line to do the model presentation and how the model was put together.
Great, thanks, Pablo. Can you all see the report on the screen? I just want.
It's not up on the screen. The screen that we have here in the room is different than the screen on the Teams link, so we're fixing that. Just hold on one second. Okay, but
Okay. Ah, look at that. Okay, so you all can see that?
Yes.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
we can.
Okay, great. So this, just if you all can remember, when we originally were engaged, this was back in the fall of last year. Some of the folks in this room were really on the opposite sides of a negotiation. We really were hired by IVHD to assess the liquidity risks of doing a transaction with the ECRMC. And now that negotiation is effectively over, we really have been working closely together in a very, very friendly relationship with the management team of both hospitals, which has been a really nice process. And we've also had, excuse me, the benefit of some help from Tammy Marita of UCSD that worked with us while we were going through this process. So why don't we go to page 5 and we'll describe the process. Some of the folks that have been on the negotiating committee obviously have seen some of these slides and have listened to this explanation more than once, but I will give it with a little more detail than the last presentation, because there are folks in this room that have not had the benefit of going through the week-to-week process with us. So BRG, excuse me, BRG is a large consulting firm, and probably half of our 1,600 consultants are dedicated to healthcare. And so this is folks like Chris Monither, who's on the call here, have worked at hospitals. So we have very, very deep experience with working with hospitals of all sizes, rural hospitals, and also large city hospitals. Which is a kind of experience you need when you're putting together a 3-statement financial model, because you need to understand how these hospitals operate. What we were doing is taking the 2 hospitals separately and putting them together, layering in some initiatives that were generated by the management teams of the hospitals to show how much better the hospitals are together than they are separately. Because I think everyone knows here that the hospitals, any rural hospital in America is struggling on its own. And I think there's a real opportunity all over the country to do what the folks here are doing and putting 2 good underutilized hospitals and making one very good, more fully utilized hospital, which obviously is going to be more financially viable. And by doing this analysis and putting these 2 hospitals together and developing a model, it prepares the community for the diligence that you're going to get from future investors, like bondholders, some of the existing bondholders like Preston Hollow, and the types of due diligence studies like a feasibility study that will be necessary to raise that type of money. All of this is preparing for that activity. I think right now the analysis is really just to take the 2 hospitals, put them together, and layer in the performance improvement that they anticipate getting over the next 5 years, to see if this is an exercise that is doable, meaning is it financeable? Is it something that can be done, given what we know about the hospital operations. The other thing about the analysis, it's an Excel sheet. But it is a 5-year exercise, and it is dynamic, so that as things change, the model will change as we go forward. So every new month that gets rolled in can roll into this model, and it can dynamically change all the numbers. And I think for those of you who aren't familiar with the 3-statement model, the 3 statements are a profit and loss statement or an income statement, a balance sheet, which is all the assets and liabilities of a business, and then the cash flow statement, which shows the impact on liquidity, on cash at the end of every period. And so you can see that you're not, I'm sorry. That was, I'm embarrassed to say, that was my my alarm for coming to the 6:00 meeting. I apologize. So in any event, we put together this model in a 3-statement format and made it flexible enough to make changes as time passes and as additional ideas are developed to make the hospitals better. So, and the other thing to remember is that these numbers aren't made up. They start with the actual numbers that the hospitals generate, and then they roll forward, the balances roll forward based on the assumptions that management has given us as we walk through the 5 years. So that's kind of a high level description of the process. We have a couple more slides about process, but I'll stop right there if anybody has any questions. Why don't we go to the next page?
I think you're good, Haywood.
Okay, so this next page is the title is Model a Methodology. It just gives you a kind of a more visual view of what we're doing. So on the left-hand column, we have ECRMC, and on the right-hand column, we have PMH. We begin with the actual numbers, and that's in the form of a trial balance. The 2 hospitals don't have the exact same financial, all the line items aren't exactly the same, so you have to map them to a point where they tie up. These are non-trivial exercises, but important if you're going to have a viable model at the end. We also not only did it by hospital, we did it department to department. So all the departments have their own profit and loss statement. So you can, particularly as we go forward, you'll be able to monitor performance on a granular basis. So it's important that these things are done on a departmental basis. And also because folks doing due diligence, potential new investors, will want to do due diligence and want to see, how the hospital is performing in each of its different departments. Then we made each hospital a 3-statement model. I'll speed up a little bit. And they have specific toggles so that if we make changes or if the world changes, reimbursement, demographics, et cetera, the model can be easily adjusted to accommodate that. The next step is we put the hospitals together, A plus B, just without any initiatives, to see what that looks like. And then we layered on another P&L called the initiatives P&L that will illustrate all the performance improvement ideas that management has for putting these hospitals together. And this is where you really get a sense for the benefits of putting these two hospitals together, the additional services that will be provided, et cetera. And then lastly, you layer that initiative's P&L into the merger P&L, which is the combination of the two hospitals with the initiatives, and you can see the improvement that that the whole system has. So in that way, I hope you have a little better idea of the exercise and the detail that was put into it, the thought that was put into it by the management team, and frankly the board, to make this come to where it is right now. Why don't we go to the next page? And if anybody has questions, maybe the best way to do it is just interrupt me, because I can just stop if I hear any questions. So this is the last process page, just so you have an idea of where these numbers came from. And you remember I said that they started from actual numbers and then rolled forward into the forecast. This demonstrates that, or illustrates that in the fiscal 25 numbers are the actual numbers for the hospitals. And that's where we started. The fiscal year 26 numbers are the budgets that were put together by both management teams separately. And that is the base of 26. And then 27 and through 30, we we built out the forecast using what we'll call historical relative weighting. We use the historical performance of the hospitals on all the line items to make sure they make sense given the history that the hospital has experienced. And that's the A+B. And then we did the same with the final merger model that includes not only the two hospital financials, but also the initiatives that are layered in. And so I think in that way, you can see how it's built up in a very sensible way. It's a way you can trace all the changes that were made. So if anyone has questions during the due diligence process, you'll be able to trace back to where the numbers came from. And so in that way, I think we have a very persuasive, this has been a very persuasive exercise that everyone has contributed to. So why don't we go forward to page 8. Now we get into some graphs, not so many words. So the light blue and gray bars are actual numbers. This is revenue. The blue and gray are ECRMC and PMH, or the PMH is the blue and ECRMC is the gray. The orange line is the cash flow or the EBITDA. That's kind of cash flow metric that is very common in the industry. And so I think what you see here, just as at a high level, is from 23 to 25, what a good job your management teams have been doing since they've come on the scene. And I think your management teams are a part of all of those upticks in revenue between the hospitals. And then the dark blue is the future, which is built in the way that we talked about. And this is just the revenue line. And you can see it's not a hockey stick. So no one is claiming to, create miracles here. But this is very thoughtful exercise. And this is a picture of a very stable hospital system. And I think it it's a good background to some of the next slides that we see. So why don't we go to 9? So this is what we call a bridge. The purpose of it is to illustrate the impact of the initiatives that management is executing when these hospitals go together. And this is shows in fiscal 26. This will be the first forecast year. When you look at on the left-hand side, the gray, that is your EBITDA. For just the 2 hospitals without the initiatives, and you see the impact of the initiatives and the changes in the facts on the ground as they go through 26. So you can see the supplemental changes, and that's based on an association in California that estimates those. So that's not just from management, that's a more scientific view where we have an independent third party coming up with those numbers. The sole hospital designation, which we get because 2 hospitals are now 1 hospital. The beginning of the radiology, making available the radiology imaging systems at the hospital, and management did a very nice deal with one of the regional providers of imaging, and that you'll see in 26 you see some positive impact, and that will increase as the years go on. The combination of the hospitals will have some positive impacts on staffing. As well. These are not layoffs. I think it's very important that everybody knows that these are not layoffs, but these are assumptions. There may be some attrition, which is not a layoff, and there are also some position consolidations and other integration efforts, and then other. And you add all those up, and you get the 26 IVHD merger model EBITDA. And so that's how you get from one to the other, and you can see the impacts of the initiatives. So why don't we go to 10? And you can see some of the same categories. The radiology, you can see, is really blossoming, and it becomes more part of the county system. The sole hospital designation continues to contribute. Managed care relationships. So when you're a bigger hospital with a bigger census, you can negotiate better with various insurance companies. You have service line expansion, which is very exciting. And I know the management teams are very excited about that, because that's essentially providing services that may or may not be available in the county, and you'd have to travel either east or west to take advantage of those. And then there are other operating improvements as well. So I think you guys get the gist of illustrating all the work that's been done by the management teams to put this all together. So why don't we flip to 11? And then this is 28. And so you can see some of the improvements are beginning to shrink because the company, I mean, the hospitals have matured and developed these programs over the last few years. Radiology is still going strong, as you can see. Okay, now we'll shift gears to cash. Now this is page 12. So when you're going through this model, you usually start doing the P&L, the profit and loss statement, and then you layer in the balance sheet, the assets and liabilities, and that will show you to what extent and when you do your cash flow statement, you'll understand to what extent kind of the accrual-based accounting applies to actual cash. And you do this to make sure that you have sufficient cash to operate your operation. And so you can see on page 12, one thing you notice is it goes negative in the outer years. One reason that is the case is because there is seismic capex in the last few years, and that is not inconsiderable. And that's a significant number. So that has to get paid for, and I think that's one of the reasons it's imperative that you all follow through with this. The other thing is that's in this particular cash flow statement is the DHLP loan, the Distressed Hospital Loan Program loan, that frankly may or may not be forgiven by the state. But this is the worst case scenario, showing that it is not forgiven. It has to be paid off, later in our forecast period. So that just gives you an idea. And to my mind, this is just explaining why this whole exercise is important, because the next three lines, the light blue, the orange, and the green, is the cash for what it would be at different levels of financing. And this report doesn't include types of financing that will be utilized. That's for another day. This is just setting the table for what things are, and when you layer in that financing, you can just see what the impact of that would be, which is considerable. And the good news is that when we go through this exercise, it shows that the hospitals, provided they can perform at these levels, can finance this level of debt. And I think that is what is exciting about this whole exercise, because to be honest, when we came here in the fall of last year, we really didn't know until we went through this exercise. So now, why don't we go to the next page, which is a better view. If the DHLP loan is not, if they are not forced to pay the DHLP loan, you can see on the bottom row, doesn't get anywhere near to the $15 million line, the dotted line, which is, essentially a month of operating expenses. So that just gives you an idea of what the finances look like and the outputs of the financial model. And keep in mind that as assumptions change, the model is very easily updated, whereas creating the model in the first place is a heavy lift. It just is, and because there's just a lot of moving parts. But I think it's in good shape now, and we've really enjoyed working with both management teams to get to this point. So now, the next pages are the impact of the initiatives in a little bit more detail. Pablo already spoke and has talked to you a lot about the initiatives at a higher level. And this is where the rubber meets the road, where the things that he's described actually get translated into numbers and into a P&L. And so what we've done here, this is the initiative P&L. So this isn't the hospital P&L. This isn't what the hospital looks like. This is just the impact on the various line items for the all the initiatives over the 5-year period. And it just gives you a view of how things are impacted by the things that Pablo and Chris and the management team are doing. I'm not going to go through all the details of this. I think it's a little much. I think the bridges essentially tell the story. Similarly, on page 16, these are the categories that of initiatives and the magnitude of their impact down at the bottom, and then the graph showing the impact from year to year. So you can see there's significant improvement in the hospitals year to year based on the initiatives. And then we can go to 17. That's this is the operating expenses. The other is the revenue. These are the operating expenses, and you can get a taste for some of the improvements that management will work through and the efficiencies that they'll gain over the next few years. And then next steps, really, page 19. These are the board materials that we're presenting to you right now. And then management will be answering questions about these from all the various potential investors. We're happy to work with management and the board to assist in that process. But as you can see, as things change, I mean, every month is a new month, and the model will be updated. But like I said, it's a relatively easy process right now. And I think that is the end of our presentation. The model itself is a behemoth, and to walk through that, this gives you, essentially what the outputs of it are. But happy to take any questions from anybody about any of the things that you've seen.
Anybody have any questions? Comments? I think you're, I think you're good, Haywood.
Okay, so we can, did you say we're good? Broke up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm in a hotel in Baltimore.
There's no question.
Questions?
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. We really enjoyed working with you.
Thank you.
So the recommended action on the agenda is accept and approve the 5-year integrated financial plan. And that's not a formal requirement for any law or anything. This is just so that down the line, if we want to pursue discussions, for example, about financing with a bank or other options for bonds or whatever. And someone says, well, show us your financial plan. We could show them this and walk them through the model and explain that this was approved by the board. This is the board's policy. This is the board's intention, and show them the minutes and support that with board action. And that way it just really gives sort of the community or any potential future partners confidence in this plan. That it and the board's acceptance of this plan.
That, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Berger and a second by Proctor. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll move on to item 5A, that's on the special agenda. Okay. Staff recommends action to authorize approval of professional design agreement with Mascari and Architects and Chris Pember.
Yes, so this is the piece that we need for our compliance that we need to meet by March 1st with HCI. This one will be part of the design drawings that are construction drawings that are requested by HCI by that time. We had three different bids that we looked at. And both Pablo, Dave, and myself sat down and reviewed the different options. And we believe that this is the best option for this district to move forward on this. And we're presenting it to you at this time. Don't take any questions you guys might have.
This is just, as I read it here, just for plans. right?
Correct. This is just design. Yep, there's no construction, there's nothing else associated with it. It's just the, and essentially, we're late in the game on this, and so we won't have construction documents done by March 1st. And so part of this is working with HCI and having that conversation with them to be able to show what our plan is, use our master plan to show timelines associated with that so that we can meet the expectation that they have. And because part of that is we won't be far enough in our process to really put construction drawings in there. If we do, we'll be wasting money. We'll throw away like $300,000 or $400,000 on that portion of it. And so it doesn't make sense. It is included in there, will be part of what is done, but we won't have that by March 1st, and we'll work with HCI to be in compliance.
And we're still flexible as far as what changes the plans and things.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This will just be us putting the idea together and what it all looks like and presenting it to HCI, showing them how we're going to do that with the construction drawing to follow. Once we hit that mark on our.
Because they mentioned also the contractors that they're going to be hiring or working with. We don't go that far though, right? Because they electrical engineering.
Correct. We won't, as far as the construction piece goes, we won't have that until we get to that point. And those will have to do a bit. Yeah, those will go in an RFP at that point.
I'll come back to it.
So they're just saying, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I have a question. What are the reimbursable expenses?
A lot of that will have to do with like travel and other things like that as they come out and see what else is going there.
So I believe, from my recollection, there's a list in Exhibit A that outlines what reimbursable expenses would be. Let's see. Remember seeing that. Estimate reimbursable expenses.
Travels,
Travel, printing, large format color plotting, photographic services, delivery and mail services, plan check fees, and the like. So plan checks are kind of permit, you have to submit plan checks to the city or county sometimes, and then you've got to pay a $2,000 check to the city and the plan check, and so they will advance that, and then we reimburse them for it. Things like that. So. And there are provisions about the reimbursable expenses also in the exhibit. So reimbursable expenses or advances over $10,000 are due upon presentation or notification, delinquent 5 days after, and then there's provisions about the CAD drawings, what they can charge for them. But there's a cap on that for $50K. So they can't go over that under the contract.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, do we have a motion? I so moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Berger and a second by Proctor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Move on to item B. Staff recommends action to authorize Microsoft Enterprise Agreement in Office 360.
Yeah, this one's actually a very exciting one. This is our first step in integrating the two systems together as far as like being on the same email platform and so forth. And this is our first step in doing that. It took a little bit to get there because we had two separate contracts and some other agreements that didn't line up. And we finally got the okay from Microsoft on Tuesday to do that. And what this does is it puts us all on the same platform for Microsoft. Will same licensing and so forth as we move forward. And so a lot of the things that we have some issues with right now will, from a communication standpoint between the two different sides, will become much easier. We'll be able to use Teams much more effectively together at that point. And again, they'll end up on an IVHD email address here within the next little bit as well. So there are some discrepancies you'll see as far as like the licenses. I want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. Not discrepancies, but differences that between what's IVHD and ECRMC. The IVHD licensing does include the enterprise agreement for our servers as well. So that's one reason why it's much higher. Currently, ECRMC, we have a perpetual licensing there. So just so you guys know and understand what that is, that means you pay for it once and then it's yours. And that's it. That's what you have. The enterprise agreements basically mean that you get the newest, what's up to date, and so on and so forth. It updates automatically. And they're usually in terms of about 3-year contracts and so forth. So we're coming due on that with our portion of that for our servers. And we'll, in the future, we'll be looking at what we'll do with our servers with ECRMC to bring those into that, up to line with that as well. But that's essentially the discrepancy that you'll see between the two dollar amounts for both sides and how that's included. There are also more licenses for IVHD at this point in time than there are on the ECRMC side. And so that's another reason for that number being different.
Chris, when we went to our conference, we had the speaker talk about Copilot and the security of Copilot. Is that something that we would have access to as board members in essence, as far as, because you stress the importance of having that privacy, because not all information we have that we want to analyze potentially through AI, for as an example, we want out in the public domain in essence, right? However that works in the public models. Will we have access to a private one to where if we plug in private information that we would be able to analyze and do whatever we want to do with it and have that confidence that it's not going to.
This stays within ours.
Yeah.
Correct. So for you guys right now as a board, you do not. You have what's considered an F3 license, which essentially means frontline. So it's limited on the number of things. It's a cheaper one as well. You don't have full access to the full suite and everything else like that. When you're talking about managers, directors, executive, and so forth, we have what's called an E3 license, which is more robust and has more of those features in it. So it would be a matter of if you're wanting that as a board for yourself to be able to do some of those things from that standpoint, we would have to change your license to be able to do that. It is more expensive, of course, to go from an F3 to an E3, but yeah.
I couldn't give an example right now to justify an expense, but just thinking.
On your own, James. With that, do you have any other questions or a motion?
I just say that I appreciate the work you guys been doing on this, because at the end of the day, it's almost $92,000 in savings, and we just have to deal with what we have, right? But having $92,000 in savings is going to be pretty good.
Yeah, and on top of that, when we do that and we're able to move to Teams at that point in time as well, there's another about $60,000 in savings that we'll have with another service that we're using that we'll be able to get rid of. So,
Like it. Save one.
yeah.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I so moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Berger and a second by Valdez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll go back to management reports. Do I have a finance report?
So I just wanted to update you. This week, we went, or I guess a couple weeks ago, we went live with our ADP time and attendance. But this week was the first week that we did run payroll. So there has been hiccups, to say the least. So just in case you hear those, I've sent out a lot of communication to individuals today. We're correcting a bunch of things tonight. The staff is still there tomorrow, and then obviously next week. So the staff has been understanding and patient, but it's been a rough week with ADP and getting some of those tweaks figured out that should not have been there. So that's the update. I know the finance committee got to hear my spiel. I didn't know if you guys had any questions. On the finance report, I did do a little bit of an update on the narrative. It looks almost the same for you guys, but I feel like I tried to make it a little bit more clear on the words matched exactly the graphs and added some graphs in there for this, because I mentioned you guys like to see them. And of course, maybe a quarterly thing. Thank you.
Yeah, I noticed your changes. Thank you.
No, any questions for Frank? And we'll go to hospital operations. Go ahead. Carol, lead on this.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I have the P&O report here. And it starts with the transfer report. You can see in November, we had 114 transfers. I did go ahead and add an additional graph there. It's a pie chart that breaks down the 26 cases that were attributed as others. You can see 9 of them were urology, and then the other ones, the way they break down, if that you would want to see who those others are. And there's no surprises as far as the transfer. The 3 top are still the 3 top for the same reasons as far as not having those services here. We did for the inpatient side, we did transfer 33 cases out. That 33 also includes cases that went through our SNP. And as far as staffing, I do want to report that we recently hired on the last count that was reported to me was 15 new grad nurses that will be going to various departments. And so we're pretty excited about that. With this time around, we had the largest cohort for the next residency program, and so we're excited about that. And also everything else, the usual stuff. If you have questions about it, I'm more than happy to answer. But that's what I have.
Does anybody have any questions?
I just had questions on the resignations. Were they just moving on to another position or?
Some of those resignations, like for example, one of them is a retirement. I know that one of them is a termination, and then if they've moved on, it's for other reasons. When we check in, it's they either wanted to leave because of personal reasons.
Do you have any other questions? No? Thank you. Now we go to clinics operations with Carlos Warren.
So I have the report in the packet. If you guys have any specific questions, please let me know, but I will touch base on a few things. For the rural health clinics, we did have a decrease in our volumes month over month from October to November. We do normally see that during the holidays because during Thanksgiving, we close for a couple of days, but it was a decrease from last year. So we are looking into that and analyzing by provider. So I'll have an update next month after we complete that analysis. Hopefully it gets better this month. For our locked notes for rural health, we're at 98%, and our specialty, we're at 95%. We did receive a grant for $810,000, the path-cited grant, which is providing access and transforming health initiative. So that grant can be used for staffing, IT structure, infrastructure. And the way we wrote the grant was for expansion of the service lines. So we just received that grant, so we're going to start on that project shortly, because we do need to report. Also, I just wanted to take note that positions haven't been posted, but we are losing 3 physical therapists. We have 1 retiring, 1 that is part-time that is moving to home health, and our full-time is also moving to home health. So you will see that in the next report, and those will be posted in the next week.
Did they mention why the home health was a greater compensation?
Compensation. and benefits. Bonus.
How many physical therapists do we have?
We have one.
4 after they leave? Full-time?
No, not full time. We only have 3 full time, and then the per diems work 1 to 2 days.
Is the PT done outpatient and inpatient
Yes,
or just inpatient?
it's a both. So we are working with ECRC to look at their structure as well and see how we can work together.
I had a question about your staffing. You mentioned in here the nuclear med technician is open, but in the MEC, it says that you hired someone. So
We have a traveler, so there is somebody in place, but we have not hired anybody.
for the nuclear med?
No, we haven't. It's just a, well, we've hired a traveler,
Yeah,
but we don't have it.
They're not ours.
They're not ours.
Oh, okay.
The position is still open for full time. We do have somebody that is interested, that has been with us before on a more like part-time basis. So we did open like a per diem position. Hopefully they'll come back, more time.
And the MRI?
MRI, we are open. We still have a per diem opening, but we are opening every week.
One of the things that is happening is we are trying to out there radiology consideration services for MRI. And when they have 2 techs that are working into some higher than the our system and take some of that patient volume. They are doing our business.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
We have urgent care with Tomas Beaver.
I guess just a quick, one.
Mhm.
Just a quick, numbers have slightly increased on for the urgent care during the summer months. If you recall, they were really low. They picked up for October, November, but for late November, same thing happened that happened at the clinics, small dip. They went from 533 last time to 513 to 476. That's on the operational side. On the building side, I just wanted to help, kind of get a request from the board, if we can get a follow-up on the several meetings ago, we discussed looking at the liquidity damage letter for the thing for the building. And I just wanted to know if at some point we could bring that back. We've gotten a lot of calls from the builder and the architects for requesting payments, and I just want to bring that back to your attention if you could follow.
Thank you. Now we'll go to the executive update with Chris and I think Pablo.
So a couple things that I want to make the board aware of. Last week we had a meeting with LAPCO. LAPCO put out there that they would like to, or floating the idea of having special districts have 2 spots on the LAPCO board. There's a cost associated with that, and here in our county in particular, we have a plethora of special districts. So for some of them, and that cost could be, $5,000 to $8,000, and they really don't have that, like some of the cemetery special districts and so forth. And then for us in particular, as a healthcare district, ours would be based on that percentage of so much coming out. If we have, if we're making money, if we're not making any money, then don't take any money from us. And so there was some concern there for everybody involved. IID did step in as a special district as well. Basically said they floated out there that they would essentially pay the whole fee for everybody, with the idea that LAPCO or that IID would have a seat on the board all the time, and then also have the alternate seat, the backup. And then the special districts would all have to, through whatever rotation was established, take their turn on the board going forward. So that would be IAD on there all the time, and then the rest of the special districts, like if they did once a year, it'd be like IVHD would have a seat on the board, once every 7 years or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah. And then the other piece of that is, and I know this is really going to be sad for Katie, but if you're on a city council or any of those other, you can't be on the board, so it'd have to be somebody else. Katie would not be able to do that. Sad day, I know, but
Yeah, I'm full.
It was kind of more of an interest level meeting. And then as IID presented their information, others obviously wanted to see that. While we were getting ready for this meeting here, I actually got information from LAFCO that has some of the IID stuff in there. So I haven't had a chance to completely look through it yet. I have forwarded that on to Pablo as well, so he has that. But that could be something we can look at, and if the board's interested, it will have to be done through resolution, and just so you guys want to be part of that. It's a special district and so forth, but we'll get you more information as that comes. Just wanted to make you aware that that is something that happened and something that we'll probably be discussing as we move forward. Apparently,
So so the thing is all the special districts have to take a vote.
correct.
You have to have a resolution and then you take a vote at the LAFCO meeting, correct?
Once they all agree, yes, the resolution goes, and then it goes to LAFCO, and then LAFCO has to vote it, yes.
Not just special districts, but I mean, the LAFCO board doesn't have a say.
Right, but the special districts all have to do that. There's a form that they provided, and it has everybody's name on it, and that's the resolution. That would be, each board has to approve the resolution, each special district board.
Yeah.
To go to LAFCO, yeah. And then at that point, that's when the vote takes place for the representatives, or I should say, for who would be on there at that point in time, how that would work. So
I would stay away from it. It's just extremely controversial and political. We don't need more of that. That's just my opinion.
I was wondering what the benefit would be for us to be on.
But honestly, as a healthcare district, there's no benefit. That's really, I would like to see, there's other districts that are, Keeper Public Utility District that provides their water and other things like that, For IVHD, I really don't see that benefit for us.
but as more information comes on that, we'll let you guys know. Like I said, it was last week's meeting, and they just barely sent some paperwork over today for us to look at, but wanted you to be aware that it was happening. On top of that, I do want to just talk a little bit about what we've been doing. There's a lot of work. Obviously, some of the stuff that you guys have seen that have come through on some of the things that you guys have voted on, but the teams have really done a phenomenal job as of late. A lot of work, and then at the same time dealing with some of the payroll issues and other things like that on top of everything else that's happening. And so a lot of work going into that. And I just want to make sure that the board knows our team is really stepped up and really done a phenomenal job. And when I say our team, I mean our team. That's ECRMC, that's IVHD, that's our team. And a lot of work's been happening and moving forward. One of the things that, as a result of that, more things will come, but I wanted to make you guys aware. Also, we're looking at bringing the security in-house for IVHD. Currently, we outsource that. Over at our ECRMC, we don't. We have that in-house, and so we're going to make that in-house for Pioneers as well. ECRMC, we have a great program for that and how that's set up, and so I think that will be very beneficial to the districts as we do that. Like currently, as we outsource ours, we haven't utilized those services at some of our clinics. And we have some need for that, in particular over in Calexico, and working with the team at ECRMC, they do have that at the clinic there. And Pablo working with everybody on that's like, we'll send people over and put that together so that there is coverage at the other clinic as well, so that they feel safe. And so the team's really working well, trying to put all that stuff together. and make sure that things are running smoothly and everybody feels safe from that standpoint. And so you'll see that probably coming here pretty soon as we look at making changes from that perspective. So making you aware that that's forthcoming for another board meeting. Same with that, we are starting that process for when we close. Currently ECRMC is with the Joint Commission and Pioneers is with DMV. And when we close, ECRMC will come under DMV for a short time under that, as we both prepare to then become Joint Commission ready to begin. Now, at that time, we're looking at that being in March. So with that, there will be a number of things that will come to the board, just so that you guys are aware, probably starting in potentially the end of January, but into February and so forth, for some of the policies that will need to be changed and updated. And particularly our emergency preparedness will have to make some significant changes there to include both the campuses and so forth. So those will be some of the things that will be forthcoming that I wanted to make you guys aware of as well. So you'll see those here in the next few months as we prepare for those things. Other than that, if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to take those then. Thank you.
Thank you, both.
Thank you. Thank you. And then we have a legal update with Roger showing.
Yes, I have an uncharacteristically long one today. So a couple things. One, SB 707 becomes effective January 1st. Most of this bill currently doesn't apply to IVHD. There's one section of the bill that could apply to IVHD if you wanted it to. And this is something we discussed at Finance Committee, which is the virtual meetings provision for subsidiary bodies, which basically means committees. This gives the Finance Committee the option of meeting entirely virtually. But the board would have to adopt a resolution in January that says that they can. The parent agency, the parent board has to give sort of permission for the committee to be able to meet virtually. And they have to make certain findings every 6 months thereafter. It doesn't give us a ton of benefits, especially considering how small our finance committee is, particularly because elected officials still have to comply with certain provisions of the Brown Act, and there's a lot of sort of burdensome video requirements that we would have to check the list on. But it is a good option for flexibility. Reminder, you still will have the ability to attend meetings, you, the board, and committees have the ability to attend meetings remotely under the just cause exemption, which you can only use twice a year. Well, actually, your board can use it, I think, 4 times a year because you meet twice a month. So that's the added flexibility is good, but remember, you have to make the just cause determination. You have to say, either I'm sick or I'm caring for a loved one, or you have to sort of justify your just cause, and it has to fit into one of those 4 buckets. So and the other thing is IVHD they're not currently subject to the rules of SB 707, but because only certain types of agencies are subject to SB 707. One of them is agency, it's called the large agency thing. It only applies to large agencies. And right now we don't fit that definition, but after the merger we will, because after the merger we will be an entity that it's a countywide footprint and over 1,000 employees. Right now, arguably, we still fit under 1,000 employees, but after the merger, we will be more than 1,000 employees. So we will have to comply with many other provisions of SB 707. This is just a heads up because we're slated to close January 24, right? If that works out, then our February meeting will have to start complying with these requirements. And it's stuff like Spanish translation of agendas, which I'll have to confer with staff on, making sure agendas are translated in Spanish, making sure we have all these very specific, closed captioning on the streaming. You have to stream. Right now, we don't have to stream. We choose to stream because you've adopted a policy of transparency. After the merger, you'll have to make sure all your meetings are streamed. You have to adopt a resolution by no later than July. about how to handle disruptions to the internet. So you have to at least stop for an hour if there's a disruption. You have to stop your meeting. You have to say how you're going to handle it. Right now, you're not obligated to let folks that are attending via remote attendance, you don't have to let them give public comment. You choose to as a board, but you don't have to. After the merger, you will have to. So we'll have to shore up that policy. So this is just a heads up for a lot of Brown Act technical changes that we will bring to this board probably in January, just to like get ahead of it. Maybe in February if we want to just start when the merger starts. So with that in mind, are you interested in allowing the finance committee to meet virtually? This would also apply to all the other committees, right? Which haven't been as active as finance yet, largely because you're waiting for the merger to close. But there are certain, I should say, if you have virtual meetings for committees, you still have to designate a physical location. There has to be a staff member present to host in case a member of the public wants to attend that meeting. You have to let them, and they have to be able to watch the Zoom somehow. There's a lot you have to do to be able to do it, but it's one of those things where once you do it once or twice, then it'll be easier for you. Finance committee discussed this a little bit at our last meeting, but I wanted to open it up to the full board because all of you are on committees. Is this something you're interested in? If so, I'll bring the resolution in January so that you can start taking advantage of it.
Very much so, yes.
Okay, great. So I'll bring that resolution to the board in January, and then there will be a policy update probably in February or sometime before July regarding how to handle SB 707. And then that's going to be like virtual discussions, members of the public, etc. There's a lot of, if you read SB 707, it's very, very long. So I'll spare you the boring details. The other two things, one is SB 852 is effective in January. What this means is, you remember after you were sworn in for IVHD, you had to file your Form 700. And usually Form 700 are due every April 1st. They are still due April 1st. But now instead of filing with the county or your home agency, you have to file electronically directly with the FPPC. So you'll be getting an email if all things work out the way they're supposed to. You'll be getting an email probably to check your email addresses right, and then they're going to send your information to the FPPC, and then you're going to have to file electronically with the FPPC directly. So this is just a heads up that that's something you'll be doing between January and April of next year. If you have questions about it, let me know.
We already had to do, I mean,
Okay, good. Yeah. The way it's been happening for many of my other agencies is the county's been sending a letter to the board clerk saying, send me your list of elected officials. And it's not everybody on your conflict of interest code. It's just the elected or appointed official. It's just the board, the CEO and the CFO, like the folks who are in charge of public money, like really the decision making for public money. So you will have a long list of folks who are designated under your code, under the PMH code, that have to file Form 700s anyway. They are going to file normal 700s with the county or whoever we file with normally. It's just you guys that have to do it electronically with the FPPC. It's meant to be easier, and I'm sure it will be long term. It's just this first go round might be a little confusing for folks. You're also going to see we're working on an amended conflict of interest code, which we will likely present to this board probably second meeting of January, to amend your code. Well, it might come in February because you'll need to amend your conflict of interest code to be consistent with your new organizational chart. So probably in February, and I have to coordinate with Pablo on this, we'll bring the revised org chart or the new org chart for approval by this board and a new conflict of interest code that designates the new positions and the different positions and their filing obligations. So that folks know who has to file within the 30 days and who has to file before April 1st. The last thing is, and this is sort of going back to the merger ad hoc I wanted to give you a quick rundown on high level where we're at with the merger. So we're checking lots of stuff off of the checklist, and the ad hoc's aware. The checklist is like 20 pages long, but big level, real property is almost closed up. We got all the appraisals today. The title objection letters have been submitted. So the real property side and the actual transfer of buildings, brick and mortar from agency A to agency B is moving along smoothly, no delay. The benefits side, which is very complicated, the pension stuff, the 457A plan, the 402B plan, all the resolutions were finalized by the pension council for ECRMC and IVHD a few weeks ago. They're gonna be presented to the ECRMC board next week at their December 18th meeting. So the benefit side of the house, check, right? That box is being checked also. The labor and employment side, offer letters went out, started going out to ECRMC employees for employment at IVHD effective on the date of closing, right? If that's January 24, great. If it's a different date, it'll be effective on the date of closing. And those conversations and those offer letters have been going out and has been, from what I understand, pretty smooth, and that's been happening ever since the beginning of December. Offer letters also to the ECRMC executives went out today, and in January, we will bring to this board the offer letters that we finalized with the ECRMC team for CFO and COO for consultation. So under the joint powers agreement with UCSD, which was one of the things that we changed from the last JPA, UCSD is required to consult with this board with respect to the employment of CEO, CFO, and COO. CEO is an employee of UCSD, so we don't have a say in their, employment agreement that's outside. But the CFO and COO can be an IVHD employee, or they can be a UCSD employee at UCSD's option. At this point, they're going to be IVHD employees. So those offer letters went out, and all we're doing is presenting them for consultation. You're not going to actually approve them because it's really under the CEO's powers to do that. But in light of the language that they have to be brought for consultation, we're going to bring those for consultation in January. The two big issues, or not issues, the two big checklist items for closing continue to be the financial, the big financial issues, which is the press and hollow consent to transfer the bonds. We haven't gotten yet, but there have been ongoing discussions with press and hollow, and we just have a lot of work to do over the next couple of weeks to make sure that we make them comfortable with consenting. And then satisfying the PMH debt, we're also working on that. Finally, and this is outside of the merger, but this is information we just got yesterday, so I wanted to make you aware. We got the county's deadlines for 2026 June primary elections. The county asked who's up in June, and I responded today, and I talked to Chris about this, saying, I don't think anyone's up in June. Our resolutions call for our board of directors to be elected at the general election. So I've asked her to confirm that my understanding is correct and that there's not some requirement we're not aware of.
I thought our board positions have to win by 50+1. So you would go to the June and then a runoff in November.
No, I mean, so I don't see that in the health and safety code that's typical for elected positions of cities, like city attorney and city councilman, but that's not typical for healthcare districts. So I've asked the county official, hey, let me know if I'm reading this wrong, or let me know if there's a requirement that exists that I'm not aware of that requires primaries and then a run, because otherwise it's just general. So I'll let you know, and certainly in January, because if the board is subject to primaries, it would be districts 1, 2, and 3 that are up. And we have to pass a resolution consolidating our election with the statewide primary. And by January 30, to say, here's the 3 districts that are up plus District 7 because of the vacancy. And then you would have to, you have a deadline, which I'll forward the calendar. You have a deadline. Your folks that are interested in running have deadlines to submit their candidacy statements. The other thing is that apparently, even though the elections code requires resolutions calling for basically our funding mechanism to be delivered to the county 88 days before the primary, the county has told us that their deadline is June 30. So January 30, it's January 30. So this cuts off about a month that we thought we had. We still have time, but this means that if this board wants to put a funding mechanism on a ballot for June, then you've got to approve a resolution and figure out the funding mechanism in January at one of the January or sometime before January 30. Your obligation under SB 1070, as a reminder, is November. But there have been discussions about wanting to do it in June. So I'm letting you know that the deadline to submit that resolution is January 30. I'm happy to take questions. But you know, there's just a lot of legal stuff that happens effective January 1. So it's a long update. Any questions? Otherwise, that's all.
Perfect. With that, did anybody else have anything? Okay, perfect. With that, I'll adjourn.
Do you want,
Hold on.
I do believe that they were gonna come for public comment.
Oh,
but
yeah,
they were
absolutely.
time, so I think it would be.
Yeah, definitely.
Good evening, President Burnworth, members of the board, IVHD executives, and everybody else in attendance, virtually and in person. My name is Christian Rodriguez, and I have the privilege of representing IVC's 3rd semester registered nursing cohort. For the past year, our cohort has been stepping into IVHD's facilities, such as Pioneers Memorial Hospital and PMH DPNF. And I'll be the first one to tell you, it's made a tremendous impact in our confidence, competence, and development as future nurses. So thank you for your continued support and your trust in letting us step into your facilities. Many of my classmates had no medical background prior to admission, but through clinical placements, we've been able to hone in on skills like Foley catheterization, nasogastric tube insertion, IV placements, and the administration of fluids and medications through them. We also just wrapped up our 2nd semester, which included OB, and we were able to assist in caring for mom and baby throughout the entire labor and delivery process. So again, on behalf of our cohort, thank you very much for that opportunity. In February, we're going to begin our 3rd semester. And right there, we're going to learn about pediatrics, psychiatric care, and advanced med search. We'll also have the opportunity to apply to PMH's nurse internship program and ECRMC's nurse residency program. Both hospitals excel at taking students and throwing them in and churning out confident, safe, registered nurses. And IVHD's support is what allows this transition to occur. Last week, we celebrated the graduation of 29 4th semester IVC graduates. As Carol Bojorquez said, 15 were hired at PMH, and the number I heard for ECRMC was 18. Our program director, Dr. Ortiz, who is in attendance in the brown blazer, is also expanding our cohort sizes. Last semester, 60 students were admitted. The status quo for many years has been 20 to 30. So the future of nursing in the Imperial Valley is healthy, growing, supported, and that all happens with our collaboration. And I'm so happy that we are all on the same page. On behalf of our cohort, thank you for your ongoing support of nursing education. We're honored to learn in your facilities, and we would also be more than honored to provide any presentations on the state of our program and how RN students continue to excel with the advent of IVHD. Thank you for your time, leadership, and commitment to the growing needs of the Imperial County.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll adjourn this meeting at 6:38 PM. Thank you.
I know, nice.